Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the information session for the Pyne Lottery. We're just going to give it a minute to allow people to come in from the waiting room. All right, I think everyone's in from the waiting room. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the session. I'm going to allow my colleague, Dr. Duda, present now.
Thank you, Vanak. First, thank you for joining us for this afternoon's presentation on the Pyne Arts Lottery for kindergarten. My name is Dr. Rebecca Duda, and I am the district's Family Resource Center coordinator and also serve as the district's homeless liaison. It's my office that enrolled all of your children when you submitted your information. So we're happy to hold this information session for you. I have two other colleagues with me this afternoon, Ms. Carmen Fontes and Catherine Patino. I'll let them say their introductions now. Carmen?
Oh, Carmen, you're on mute.
Boa tarde a todos, sejam bem-vindos à loteria da pré-escola, da loteria de Jardim da Infância da Escola Pyne Arts. Meu nome é Carmen Fontes, eu sou a conexão bilíngue das escolas públicas de Lowell. E se vocês, porventura, tiverem alguma pergunta após a sessão, por favor, entre em contato comigo amanhã, no telefone 978-328-9644.
Thank you. Ms. Fontes is a bilingual family liaison who supports our Portuguese families. And now Ms. Catherine Patino, she's a bilingual family liaison who supports our Spanish-speaking families. Ms. Patino? You're on mute.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Caterine Patino, muchas gracias por estar aquí la noche de hoy. Hoy vamos a explicar cómo se lleva el proceso de lotería, especialmente de la escuela Pyne Arts, que es la que más puesto siempre requiere. Si tiene alguna pregunta basado en esta presentación, o me puede contactar al 978-328-9411 y mi rol o mi título es soy el enlace entre las familias hispanohablantes y las escuelas públicas de Lowell. Otra vez 978-328-9411. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let's start our presentation. Vanak?
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to go into present mode now.
So again, welcome to our kindergarten assignment information session. This is round 1. Next slide. So we'll be going over what makes a child eligible for kindergarten, an overview of the school assignment process, the lottery, and then what to expect moving forward after this afternoon. So just to recap, you can be eligible for kindergarten if your child is 5 on or before September 1st of this year. If your child is not 5 by September 1st, then you would be registering for preschool. Okay, so I assume everyone who's with us this afternoon, I see it looks like 29 participants. Your child must be turning 5 on or before September 1st this year. Okay, and even if your child has already enrolled in a Lowell Public Schools preschool program, you would still need to re-enroll for kindergarten. Now, when you enrolled, you selected 3 schools. In our city is broken down into 3 zones, okay? Geographically, we have what's called Zone 1, which is in the red on the map in front of you. So if you live in zip code 01851 or 01854, you would have selected a school in Zone 1. Zone 2 would be on the gray shaded part of the map. And that is zip code 01852 or 01850. We also have a third zone, which is citywide schools. So citywide schools are not connected to any zip code. Anyone in the city is eligible to select one of those schools. Those schools would be the Moody, the Lincoln, the Bartlett, the Rogers, and the Pyne. Okay? You are actually able to select a school outside of your zone if there are seats available. The one caveat, though, to that is that there would be no transportation if you select a school outside of your zone. Okay? So that's just a brief overview. I'm sure most of this is a review because you've all enrolled your child with us, but it's always good to go over it once again. Next slide, please. All right, so this year we adopted a new assignment policy, which divided the registration period into 3 lotteries. So the first registration period was opened on May 3rd and it closed on May 23rd. So anyone who registered during that time frame was eligible for the first lottery. So if you enrolled between May 3rd and May 23rd, your child was one of the first applicants and you're eligible for the first lottery. Now, the common question is, what is a lottery and what triggers a lottery? So a lottery is held for any school when we have more families requesting a school than we have available seats. So some schools have 4 kindergarten classrooms and some schools have 2 kindergarten classrooms. So for example, the Green Helge would have 4 classrooms. So they have 88 potential kindergarten seats. Okay. The Pyne Arts is a 2-strand school, so they would have 44 possible.
So Joel, can we change
Wait,
the
someone's-
order of the slides, even though this was?
All right, someone's not on mute. Thank you. So after reviewing the applications for the first round, the first registration period of May 3rd to the 23rd, we will only need to hold the lottery for seats at the Pyne Arts Magnet School. Okay? All the other schools, they have not been triggered by a lottery. So the Pyne Arts is our only lottery school this year. All other kindergarten applicants will receive a confirmation letter of their placement by Wednesday, June 16th. So for example, if you applied for the Pawtucketville and you were enrolled between May 3rd and May 23rd, you'll be receiving a letter saying that you're going to the Pawtucketville. Okay? Barring something other than a special education placement, for example, right? That would be probably the one thing that could change that. If your child has an IEP and they require a specialized service in another school, okay? But we would communicate that to you. Right. Next slide, please. So again, this is just a summary of where the different schools are in the zones. And again, the only school in round 1 in this first registration phase that has a lottery is the Pyne Arts School. Next slide, please. And again, lotteries are held for any school when we have more families requesting a school than we have available seats. So in this particular registration period, that ended up just being the Pyne, is a 2-strand school. And per the new school assignment policy, we have several new factors which will be used to weight the lottery for the lotteries that we hold. Okay? And this is part of the voluntary consent decree dating back to the 1980s. Okay? because our district's goals is to provide equitable access for all our students across the district. So in the 21-22 lottery, that's the lottery for the upcoming school year, the weighted categories for the lottery will take into consideration siblings, because we do try to keep siblings together. We don't want families separated across the city. That's not good practice for our families. We'll consider a family's McKinney-Vento status and minority and non-minority status as it is outlined in the voluntary consent decree. We are under court order to maintain a racial balance within our schools. That's part of the consent decree. And we'll also take into consideration proximity of a family's home to a school. So for example, if you requested the Riley and that's also your neighborhood school, you would get an additional point in our weighted lottery, okay? The only exception to this is if you're requesting your neighborhood school is a citywide school, like the Pyne. So no one in the Pyne received a point for a neighborhood school because it's a citywide school, and we try to draw children from across the city for citywide schools. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Another part to the current policy, which was adopted this past spring by the school committee, is that we would fill in the first round of registration at least 50% of the kindergarten seats. Okay. And after reviewing the demographics of the registrations that we received during this first registration period, we'll be able to fill 75% of the seats and still maintain an equitable balance as we're required to under the voluntary consent decree. So 75% of available seats at the Pyne, because that's our one lottery school, will be filled via the first lottery. Okay? And the two factors that will be weighed in round one will be siblings and the McKinney-Vento status, because the applicant pool was racially balanced. So those were the only two factors that required a weight. So what to expect next? Okay? And this is probably what most of you are really waiting for, right? Today's lottery day, what does that mean, right? So what that means is that anyone who registered between May 3rd and May 23rd will receive their official assignment letter by Wednesday, June 16th. Okay? We'll be sending out emails. You all provided us an email when you registered, so you'll receive an official confirmation with your school assignment by next Wednesday. We'll start the process tomorrow. Okay? Anyone who's assigned a seat at the Pines through the round one lottery will receive their official assignment letter by June 16th. Okay? So whether or not you were in a lottery school, which is the Pyne, or a school which was not a lottery school, you'll be notified by next Wednesday. Though we hope to have it done sooner than that. Now, if you did not win a seat at the Pyne through the lottery, you have some options ahead of you. Because as I said, this was the first round of lotteries. We actually have potentially 3 lotteries, this one and 2 more, depending upon how many applicants we get. So if you did not win a seat in this round for the Pyne, you will receive an assignment. It will be your second or your third choice school, because when you registered, we asked you for 3 school choices. So providing that you gave the registration clerk 3 choices, you'll be getting a school assignment. If you decide to keep your second place school, then you're all set. You'll be attending your second choice school, your third choice school, and you'll be on the wait list. No, I take that back. This is kindergarten, sorry. If you decide though you really want a seat at the Pyne, you may wait, not accept that placement, and put your child's name back into the second lottery on July 7th. However, I can't guarantee your space at whatever school you get for your second or third choice. is still available on July 7th. So that's a discussion the family needs to have and decide, and you'll be getting a letter communicating this to you as well. So should you not win a seat at the Pyne, you can either accept the assignment, which will be your second or third choice school, or you can decline the assignment and try for the lottery on July 7th again. Okay. And the second registration period is May 23rd until June 20th. So we are in the heart of the second registration period. We're a public school district, so we continuously accept registrations, and we are still processing kindergarten registrations. So we are in the middle of round 2, and the second lottery will be held on July 7th. Now, when you receive your official school assignment letter, that's just what you receive from Family Resource. We will also notify the schools of who their children are, so they can start preparing their class lists and doing teacher assignments. So your school will provide you with back to school information, kindergarten registration information, your classroom assignments, things like that. Anything that's building based will come from the school principal and his staff. Now, you don't need to return anything to the Family Resource Center. That's different for our families that have been part of the preschool process here in the Lowell Public Schools. That's different. I know in preschool you were asked to return some paperwork. There's nothing for you to return. We will provide you with your official assignment letter, and then I also notify your schools, and the school will then notify you of your kindergarten orientation. Okay. Okay, and now we can have, I don't know, even if we have any questions in the chat box.
So I'll stop sharing, and we'll take a look at the chat right now.
Sure, and then we'll answer the chat, then we can share out some contact information at the end.
So we do have one question. Letters will be sent out via mail or email?
Email.
We have a question from another.
So please, so Ashley, I should add, please watch your spam folder, right? Because that's something that happens to people sometimes. It might go to your spam folder, but it will be through email.
Another person asks, if my first choice is Pyne Arts, when will I know if my daughter got through the lottery? Is it still the 16th?
We're going to start notifying people tomorrow. And the goal is to have everyone notified by the 16th, because we do have 662 families to notify, but we're going to start notifying tomorrow. So hopefully by the weekend, we'll have everything out. Okay.
Another parent asks, is it safe to assume that our first choice school out of the 3 will be our child's school?
It depends, as long as it's not the Pyne Arts. Because none of the other schools had a lottery. So the answer to that question would be yes, as long as it's not the Pyne. Because I don't know, I haven't looked at the names of the lottery winners yet.
I believe this question was asked right before you had addressed it in the slideshow, but I'll just ask it again just in case
Sure.
the parent didn't hear. Could you tell us how many seats are available in this lottery round and how many kids are competing for them?
Sure. So different schools have different number of classrooms. So the schools that have 2 classrooms each would be the Bartlett, and the Pyne. Am I missing one? Is there another 2-strand school? Bartlett and Pyne have only have 2 kindergarten classrooms. Okay?
And
And the Moody, thank you. They only have 2 kindergarten classrooms. Everyone else has 4 kindergarten classrooms or 88 seats. Okay. And I can't say off the top of my head how many are competing for each school's numbers. I'd have to look that up. But there's only one lottery school. So we haven't hit 88 seats or 44, only in the Pyne.
And then we have a new question. This parent says, I believe I chose the Pyne School as a second choice. Is there a chance that he is on the lottery?
No, because we're going to award your first seat first choice seat. So if the Pyne was your second choice, it means you had a first choice school. So you'll be going to your first choice school. We only lottery first choice schools.
We'll hold a few minutes for any parents who would like to ask any other questions. And again, Carmen and Katerina, could you also make announcements in your languages as well?
Mais uma vez, sejam todos bem-vindos. Nós estamos aqui na loteria do Jardim da Infância da Escola Pyne Arts. O meu nome é Carmen Fontes, sou a conexão bilíngue das escolas públicas de Lowell. Se porventura vocês desejarem fazer alguma pergunta, fique à vontade, pode fazer a sua pergunta até mesmo em português, que eu posso traduzir também para obter uma resposta hoje, ou também nós podemos conversar sobre isso amanhã. Você pode me ligar, tá? O meu número já está aí no chat, mas novamente eu repito, é 978-328-9644. Fique à vontade para entrar em contato comigo se você tiver alguma pergunta sobre a loteria ou algo que aconteceu hoje que você gostaria de discutir conosco. Muito obrigada.
Muy buenas tardes de nuevo. De pronto a los papás que llegaron después de que me presenté, mi nombre es Caterine Patino. Yo soy el enlace entre las familias hispanohablantes y las escuelas públicas de Lowell. Si tiene alguna pregunta en español, con mucha confianza puede hacerla, puedo traducirla. Si no, me pueden hablar personalmente a mi celular al 978-328-9411 y con mucho gusto le responderé las llamadas o las preguntas. Esta es una presentación acerca de cómo funciona el sistema de lotería y en el momento solamente una escuela va a ser lotería, que es la escuela Pyne Arts. Gracias.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Carmen and Katerina.
Thank you. And Vinod, could you just show the last two slides briefly?
Oh, just before we get to the two slides, I do also just want to address two questions I have in the Q&A.
Sure.
One question, it's pretty simple. What are the chances of getting the Bailey for the first round? If that was your first choice school, you'll be getting the Bailey. And then for another question, if my kid is already at the Pyne Arts Pre-K, does he or she have a higher chance of joining kindergarten?
No, your preschool placement does not have any weight or any effect on your lottery assignment. Again, the only things that will affect your lottery placement, your weight in the lottery, would be if you have a sibling at the Pyne Arts or if you qualify for McKinney-Vento services. But preschool has no preschool placement has any bearing on any child's kindergarten placement. The only thing I would like to say is if your child receives special education services, that you may get a different placement. That's always a possibility. Barring that, no.
Thank you. And I'm going to share the PowerPoint one more time.
Sure. I just want to, for our families who have enrolled, McKinney-Vento, I've mentioned that a few times. It's, for you who are unfamiliar with it, it's a federal law that helps protect the rights of our students who are facing homelessness or housing insecurity. So they have the same access to a free and appropriate public education. We have a staff here at the Family Resource Center. So you feel free to contact us. When you enrolled, we asked you for proof of residency. If you're unable to provide proof of residency, speak to one of my staff members, or if your residency has changed since you've enrolled, perhaps you've been evicted or were affected by one of the fires we've had in the city and moved to a shelter. We're here to help. We have a staff dedicated to helping families who are facing homelessness, okay? Eviction, fire, anything like that. So if you ever have an issue with your housing status, please reach out to the Family Resource Center. And That phone number there, 978-429-7959, is a direct phone to one of my staff members. And again, we have our contact information. So at any time and for any reason, even if it has nothing to do with the lottery, feel free to reach out to the Family Resource Center. The main phone number is 978-674-4321. Our email is Family Resource Center, one word, at lowell.k12.ma.us. You can also fill out a link on our website and fill out a form and contact us that way as well. And besides Carmen Fontes and Catherine Patino, we have also Mr. Patron Yameri, who speaks Swahili and French to support our families who speak those languages, and Navi Nuan, who speaks Khmer, to support families who speak Khmer. All right, so we are here to help, so feel free to reach out. And thank you everyone for attending.
All right, and just before we go, I want to make sure that we introduce Latifa Phillips, our Chief Equity and Engagement Officer.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we're very much looking forward to welcoming your children with us for their kindergarten year. So have a good evening. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.
Thank you all and have a good evening.